Welcome to another education stream where you have both Brian and Thomas here, and we're both going to talk about different things related to leaderboards.
Yeah, it should be really cool.
I have the less cool thing. Thomas will show you guys the more cool thing. I'm going to be showing you how to just put scores together to output a final score. And then Thomas will show you how to make persistent worlds, which is a lot cooler than what I'm going to be doing. So we'll get through my stuff quickly so you guys can see kind of what Thomas is working on with using leaderboards for persistent worlds. So before we get into it, leaderboards, looking like not 100% definite, but we'll make the 100% sure call that it will release this Thursday, May 28th. So that's just 2 days away. Yeah, pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And we'll have all the details later on today in a blog post where we'll give the release date, price, all the stuff that's included, everything. Yep. Everything that you could want. So jumping into it, what I am going to show off is how to combine a bunch of scores together to make your final score in your own leaderboards type game. This is something that people were asking about, so I wanted to just go over that. So we are back in the same world that we built last Tuesday in the leaderboard stream, where we just simply have a human that kills goblins when the goblins come out, and that increases the human's score. What I've changed is I am looking at both kills and deaths here. So every time I die, then I get this global score of deaths increases, and every time I kill a goblin, this global kills will increase. So kills is displayed as red. I guess I could do a bit better, where I could actually say display kills
plus.
I want to have that before global. So display kills plus global kills, and then display deaths plus global deaths. There, okay. So let's jump into this game. So I have kills 0, deaths 0. Let's kill my first goblin. Here we go. Killed one of them. Let's kill a few more. Alright, we killed 3 of them. Now let's let them kill me. And I should revive after I die. So I'll fall on the ground. Then I have 1 death. Now, I am
Quickly getting swarmed.
Yeah, I think I need to make it so that they can't attack me while I'm down, because they just keep on kicking me while I'm down. Nothing I can do about that. So I've died 4 times. I've killed 3 goblins. Not doing too great in the kill to death ratio right now. They're really beating a new one into me. Okay, so let's just say you play through this full game, and you want to track and display all of those kills and deaths. So I have now 5 deaths and 11 kills, and oh jeez. Thankfully, I was killed so fast I revived while I was coming back out. Oh, look at that. There are just so many goblins now. Alright, so you have all that stuff going on. You want to actually display all that stuff in the leaderboards. So you want to use some simple multiplication and division to actually create a unique score for you. What I like to, it depends on how you want to set it up. But I like to kind of come up with my final score based on, especially if it's based on something like kills and deaths, where it's your final score is say the amount of deaths you have times 10 minus the amount of kills you have times 10, or you might do the amount of deaths times 100 divided by the amount of kills, or other way around. Mm-hmm. But the basic thing is we have this global score is the thing that we are going to post onto leaderboards. And we are going to just say the global score is equal to, let's constrain this within some brackets. So it's equal to, let's say, kills are a prized possession. So we are going to say global kills multiplied by 10. We'll put that within brackets. And then we will divide that by the number of global deaths. So that means if I have 10 kills, and actually I want to do global deaths plus 1. That way I'm not dividing by 0. Dividing by 0 would cause all kinds of mayhem. So
unleash the void.
Yeah, exactly. So now basically what's happening is my total global score is the amount of global kills I've gotten multiplied by 10 divided by the amount of global deaths that I have had plus 1. So that means that if I've died one time and killed 10 goblins, then that means that I will have a score of 50, because it's 10 times 10, which is 100, divided by 1 plus 1 is equal to 50. Then if I've killed 10 and I've died 5 times, then my score would only be, 25. Oh my god. I should never talk about math in real time live. But whatever. It's something, it's a lower number than 50. It's 10 or 20. No, it's not. It's less than that. But anyways, so we have this global score, and now let's bring in what is happening in this guy. So I'm just going to say that when right trigger is pressed, that is how I will end my game. So when right trigger is pressed, show leaderboard is equal to true. And let's talk a bit more about this again by actually deleting it. So just again, we talked about this last Tuesday, but I want to bring it up again. With the Leaderboards pack, there is going to be something in the brain gallery. Let's go over to Leaderboards, called Display Leaderboard.
And it's a brain. I kept thinking it was assembly. But
yeah, it's a brain. And so what this is going to do is default. It actually looks for, we've changed it up a bit to make it a bit easier, make it more plug and play, where as soon as basically the player is a dead object, then it's going to display the total results. You can obviously change this however you want, and I want to change it. So default, what's going to happen with this brain is when your player dies, it's going to display the scores. I want to change this so that instead we're going to have it be a Boolean and have that activated. And then I'm just going to add in here when right trigger is pressed, then show leaderboard equal to true. Cool. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to have just a other thing here. Actually, you know what? Let me create a third logic cube. Let's just call this end game. And let's make this a bit cleaner. End game is kind of an emo thing, so let's just make this black. So we're going to actually make this global. And do that. Anyways, so I'm just going around. If you've been missing, the only thing I've been doing is killing goblins while we've been offline.
Yeah, so that was basically it.
So you just missed me punching a bunch of stuff. So let's have me die. And I'll die. I'll die a few more times.
Now they're just messing with us. The camera's upside down.
Okay, so let's just end my game here. And
did you do your pace versus world pace?
Huh, interesting. Why is this not setting it? Should be... Oh, global, duh. There we go. Okay.
That's the mistake of mine. Yeah.
So let's just go in here again. Let's kill a few goblins again. So I'm basically just showing you what it looks like when you're combining those scores. Alright, so I've died once, killed 5 of them. Oh, I've died twice. Alright, let's get out of here. right, so I've not done too well. Let's end my game here. So my score right now is 16.667. I can round that up or down quickly. But because my kill-to-death ratio wasn't too great, I have a lower score. And so, leaderboards can only post one score, but how you decide how that score is posted is really up to you. If you're making a game like what I'm making with kill-death ratios, you can still use leaderboards to make scores a cool thing. So I just simply had, let's just go back into it, show you one last time before I turn over to Thomas, where I'm simply having my score calculate the global kills multiplied by 10, and then divide that by the global deaths plus 1, and that gives me my kind of new score. So with scoring, you can take a bunch of different numbers you're working with, combine them all together into one final number variable, and that's what you display in your leaderboards.
Yeah, I mean, kind of think of it like the Crossroads end game screen, like a good way of where there's just tons of things it keeps track of, like coins collected, amount of deaths, amount of kills, and I think there's like 7 other different things. Side quest completed, main quest completed, everything like that. And they can be all shoved together in a single numerical value and pushed out to the server. So you can keep track of a lot of things, but then, kind of tie it neatly with a bow and then push it up to our servers for the leaderboards.
Exactly. And just another thing to always do is coloring your logic cubes and naming them. Just makes things a lot happier. Makes it easier to know what's going on with them. All right, so let's go out. Let's go and save this. And let's jump into Thomas's world.
Yay! Yeah, that should be it.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to switch seats.
Okay. They were saying we need to switch anyway when they saying I shouldn't touch the keyboard and make the screen go black, and for you shouldn't play games because of the goblins destroying you.
Yeah.
So what is this? What's going on here? So first let me just put on something so we can see. So this is all that's in this world, and I'm going to be generating a cool little game scenario, but a bunch of logic cubes and primitive cubes, but that's basically it. Let me switch back here. First pitch black, there we go. And, I'm never going to be able to see the player. Let me put a name on him real quick.
So what's this game that we're looking at?
There we go. So, when I go to test, it generates this little cube for me. So the goal here is that you have to bounce on these cubes and delete them every time you jump off. Now, you don't want to do that.
You haven't. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I haven't put that in. You'll just end up getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So you end up losing if you don't clear. You hit a layer before you clear the next layer. So look, I'm not on yellow yet, so that's why I died. And you can see the way I'm doing score here is just the number of cubes, and I don't have it just end game, but you're dead, and it pulls up the leaderboard. So we'll go back here to edit. And so the way that I'm creating this is I just have a generator. That's like what I called it anyway. And it starts going through indexing and creating all these different cubes.
So we talked about persistent world with this.
So
how is this persistent?
So the way that it works, and to give you an example, so when I go back in here, you'll notice when I'm in test, the only scores it's going off is based on my own, and then it has like the test players. Mm-hmm. So when at a score of 0, the cube generates 5 different levels and just starts off with like a score of 0. But what happens is as the actual score gets updated to the server, we're going to see that the cube will actually generate differently depending on the high score currently in motion. So, and we won't be able to illustrate that in test because we can't fake it. But I have it shared.
Jump out.
So if I go, I can get to it.
Let me know if you want me to type in. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it should be right on.
All right, wait, look at leaderboards first, just to illustrate. All right, so we have someone who has gotten a high score of 71.
Happens to be us.
Yeah, when we were in test, we had a high score of 11. Someone here has a high score of 71, so let's jump into play.
Yep. So when I go to play here, okay, it'll generate a cube of only 3 layers instead. the coloring's a little off. I didn't fix that for some reason. But now my score will start at 50, and that's where I'm at in the cube. And now if I would clear this, so let's actually do this so we can illustrate the change. Now you're going to test my actual skills here. This is actually really hard, especially when because there's like the space, so like sometimes the collision can get a little funny, and then if that happens, then it goes crazy.
Oh, can you do it? One more. Boop. Nice.
Boop. Oh, and that's a no. That's not good. So I don't think I'm iterating between the different heights correctly, because it ended up being height 2. I have the debugger on there, so it should be, I think it's doing 3, 2, 1, and it should be 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Anyway, so high score now is 75. I don't think it's going to update the cube because of that, but let's see here. Doop. Okay. I think we'll see. I think it's going to give me that row still, because I think you have to
complete that row and then the one after it.
Nope.
No.
Smart.
Sweet.
Okay, cool. So now that I passed because 75 would have been clearing it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
25 each. So now that I loaded it and passed the 71 mark, it actually will go to the next layer in the cube.
Yeah, and then you can continue on. And so the idea is, in this game that Thomas has made, everybody out there works together to slowly clear all the cubes away. This actually is really similar to Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what you're going to base it on?
Yeah.
I'll let you tell the Peter.
Yeah, so in that game, it was like this mobile game, and basically there's this just giant cube made up of all these little cubes of just giant layers, and it was, so mine's 5 by 5. I think that was by like 1 billion or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And it was like the challenge of like the world needed to go in and like break down this cube or whatever. And it was like actually a really just fun time passing game.
Yeah, that's right.
It was really relaxing of like just like clearing it, and it was funny because people could draw and do words and stuff like in it, because the layer would be like a contrasting color. So like it would basically be like art or graffiti like on the cube as you were clearing it. It was huge. But yeah, so this is kind of based on it, like the idea that people could like work together and take off something. And I like simplified it here where, there's these layers of the cubes, but you could actually do a really big cube that way.
Right. Because you just have 64 blocks, I think.
Yeah, I'm doing a 5 by 5 by 5.
5 by 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I like simplified it, but the way that I'm doing it in this case would have been actually pretty easy to do, like a ton. I originally kept it really small because I'm working on trying to do it where it'll remember each actual cube you destroy. So when, if I die halfway through the layer of the cube, it'll actually come back to the next player and remember all those cubes like in their positions. But that brings like more interesting problems.
Right, because then
that,
each cube would have to give a certain amount of score, and you'd have to like define that score based on like what cube's there. So, all right. So I have a good. All right. So I have a good idea of like this is semi-persistent of like everyone gets to work together and they get to clear this cube together, and sort of like people get to help each other out, and slowly together the community gets this cube down to nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a certain amount of persistence, because they're all. You're all working on something together, and based on what someone does in their game, it actually changes how you play your game, because it's using high score. But I don't know how you did this.
Yep. And what's really cool is like it happens like immediately. Like it gets published right after the score goes, so it changes like dramatically. Yep. So let's jump into the code, and so now I have a high score of 125. I'm gonna want to reset because it I'd have it where it
because you don't.
You would end up not generating anything.
Right, because you don't
125.
Yeah, that's right. You get destroyed without posting the score.
Yep. So I can actually go here and edit. See if any questions. So I totally ripped off, by the way, with the cubes and the art like style. I loved the way that in Attorney Days, like he had the pulsating on that he had. So I have like the pulse on, and they just have like light bulbs attached to them, and the way the colors of the cube are just like as they get generated. So we'll take a look. Sorry, there's going to be some extra code in here that's not getting utilized in my other attempts to get other things to work. So we'll just bypass that. So this is the very first thing that starts, and all this does is create So I have some, I'm giving it some load time to come in just to make sure all the numbers get correctly pulled from the leaderboards and stuff. So after a countdown timer of 1, I have it iterating through 5 times. So that's establishing the row, basically, that's getting generated.
So for each of 5,
yep,
runs the number 5 in one frame.
Exactly. Yep. So.
Oh, sorry, that runs this thing 5 times.
Yep. So it's going to create an object that I'm referring to, and it's just a cube at the row. That's the one I'm pointing to at position, and then it's east by index, the current index. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what gives them the offset in their positions. I have a global object set just called global cube, so they're all going to get added to that. And then the row is the current index, so I'm generating the beginning of rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on here, there's a cube. Column is just 1 because it's going to be all in one column, and then the height is actually the global active height, and this is the thing that's getting generated based off the high score when you come into the game.
I see. So basically, this cube, that logic cube right there is just that's creating all the cubes that you're jumping on.
Well, yeah. So it goes from there, and then it kind of like expands. There's like different ways of doing it. I have it where it's like grid based, where it generates like a row first, and then those rows. So that's like this cube, and then this one will create the column. So it'll go down that way, and then it'll also create their heights just at that one, and then for the rest of those column generated, it'll do their last height ones too. So it goes basically, is the way to think about it, with sound effects included, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you could do another way that actually would probably be more efficient in the long run, especially if you want to think of it like by each cube basis. You would be able to just do like a single cube and just like around and like think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as cubes. And just like that way, right? Depending on your score, you could say like how many, in that chain of how many cubes just to create. This kind of gives you more flexibility in like positions, and that's kind of the way I went with that, of the way I was like trying to think of how to do the persistent score. So after that, the main logic that goes in here is, so in the player, he's pretty basic. This is just the debug on here. So whatever cube I'm closest to, it shows its row, its column, and its height, and that was just so I can make sure it was generating correctly. So when I'm bumping one of any of those objects set, it looks at the height and wants to make sure it's actually to the one that I want. So that's what tells me, should I have it increase my score and destroy it, or should I kill myself because it's not the correct layer that I'm hitting after I clear it. So if it is, then I increase my score. If not, it's gonna, if it does, then it does all these things. It has my character jump automatically and then destroys it, else it's gonna kill me. And then here's just that simple displaying the leaderboard at the end. So I post my score when I'm dead, and then I'll show up that nice leaderboard brain that we had before. I'm using that too in here. So when I first load into the level, I just grab, I save out the highest score. So that's a leaderboard high score at index 1 player score. So the leaderboard high score, which we talked about in the past education streams, is a collection of data and has a bunch of modifiers that you can look at. 2 of those are at index and player score. At index tells the ranking, but I want to pull the actual score from the board, so that's what I'm doing there.
Right, and at index 1 would be first place.
Yep.
At index 2 would be second place. It goes all the way to at index 10.
Exactly.
Which is we do have code descriptions for all these tiles that help explain it.
Yep, so if you try to do anything that's not 1 through 10, it's not going to work for at index. So just think of it as the ranking for what it pulls in. So it grabs that variable right when I start the game, and then it counts down just for a little bit to make sure everything's going in order. And basically at this point, what it does is if the global high score is less than 25, then the height's equal to 1, and then my score is actually going to be 0. Then if it's in that, it basically just sets what the high score range is, and it'll set which height I should start at the cube, and then set my score at the correct increment, basically. So pretty straightforward there.
All right, so just going through that a tiny bit more, just so people can understand the thinking behind it, because I think this is one of the most important parts. So go back up to the top again. So you're setting this global high score, this new number variable, and you are basically saying that, and that global high score is equal to the person's first place's top score. So basically, whoever's gotten the most cubes done. So then you look at that when you first go into the game, and then based on that, you're actually setting the active height, which is the active height is that means the
layer that I'm at in
of
the
cubes
cube
that need to be created. So this is actually the thing right here that's actually saying like when the score is greater than 25 because there are 25 cubes per row, then it gets rid of that row. So that's what line 6 there is doing. Global high score is greater than or equal to 25. It gets rid of that row. And then when it's also less than 50, then it just gets rid of that one row. When it's more than 50, it gets rid of 2 rows. And so this is actually the thing that's getting rid of stuff based on just setting this global number variable that's the highest score that someone's gotten in your game.
Yep. And the way to also look at here, so this guy, this one, the generator always just does a row. It doesn't do any height, so I'm not using it it won't change based on the score. It'll always be looking to generate a row. But from here on, as I'm building out down, it's actually going to be affected by that variable. So the total amount of rows that I have is 5 at the maximum, right? And I'm just subtracting from the global active height. So if my global active height is 1, it's actually going to be for each of 4. And the way to think about that is I'm always generating at least 1 row, so it'd be 4 down. So that would actually make it 5. So it's just 5 minus that actual active height, and that's how many cubes it's going to generate down.
Yeah, so I think people are confused about what like for each of 5 actually means because most people haven't done just for each of and then a number after that.
Yeah, I mean, so all this is telling it what to do is so just for each of followed by a number tells it to run that basically set of code that you have underneath it 5 times in that frame.
Or however many times.
Whatever, how many times by that. So if I had for each of 2, it would go through this, this string of code here 2 times before it would do anything else. And in this case, I have it, you can, with a number, you have you can do whatever you want to it with math. So on here, I get to set how many times I actually want it to generate. So that's what I'm doing. Hopefully that makes it clear. Keep asking questions in chat.
Yeah, so Mescott asked a question. When you post a high score that is higher than the current number 1 score, does it automatically move everyone else down? When you leave your game, then everyone else who jumps into that game basically after you've posted your score, yes, they're going to see the world based on what the highest score currently is.
Yeah. For instance, if I'm playing this session at the same time somebody else is, if I post a higher score, it's not going to delete his layer in the middle of his play session.
Right. Yeah, so the important thing is the high score of players 1 through 10, they're brought in at the very beginning of the game and they don't change during playtime.
Yeah.
So
the way to think about it is you can post to our servers during playtime, but you basically come in with the package at the beginning of the session and you can't keep grabbing during your session.
Right, exactly. And that was partly to keep things like this from happening because it would be pretty weird if in the middle of play suddenly all the cubes are just destroyed and you just fall to the ground. So all the data is pulled in at the very beginning of your play session, and then you'll have to go in and play again to get the more updated data.
Yeah. I mean, and there's obviously, in this case, in this game scenario, it wouldn't be good for people's, experiences to, mess it, but there could be cases, right, where...
Yeah, where it could be
really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's how the cube's getting generated, and that's pretty. It's actually really simple. It wasn't too bad. This way with the layers and being able to just go like that keeps it really clean. When you try to get more, it gets complicated really fast as you start trying to remember tons of different things as in a single numerical value. But I'm playing around with it, trying to kind of test the limits of how much you can, understand from a single, number variable and carry it into a game and affect other people's play sessions. And the whole grid system kind of thing I thought worked out really good for that. I know I'm planning on putting out a version of this when Leaderboards comes out.
That's really cool.
So people will be able to play around with it and work on the cube together.
And this is different than like your usual Leaderboards game. Are people competing against each other for the highest score?
This is a cooperative, actually. Right?
Yeah, I mean it's a really cool idea. It's totally like Peter Molyneux's like really cool idea as well. And the idea of it is just to show how you can use high scores to make a persistent world where, based on someone's high score they've gotten, when you go into the world, you're going to see a different world than if you came in at an earlier point when someone had a lower high score. Mm-hmm. I'm now thinking about, I want to make a game with 20 by 20 by 20 cubes and just make it really hard for everybody.
Well, yeah, and like with the layer thing, like with this way, you could probably do, I mean, you would do up to the prop count pretty much of how many cubes, because it wouldn't be the number that would limit you, and if you're doing it just by the layers.
Good question in chat. Would it update if the level was reloaded as a campaign load? That should update it. Every time you reload a level, you're bringing in the data again. So if you do a campaign reload where you're using the campaign tile and saying go to world this world, that links you back into that world itself. Sure. If you do that at a certain point during gameplay, then that should update based on the leaderboard scores, the more recent leaderboard scores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could do some interesting stuff between level linking and like high scores and stuff too.
Yeah.
Just thinking like each high score is like based on, it's based on a creation, but if you're level linking and stuff, I don't know, you could do some really interesting things.
Yeah, high score really does open up, I've really thought about for a while, how can I make a persistent world in Project Spark? Knowing, the campaign tiles, and I hadn't thought of a way until we got Leaderboards and Thomas said, "Oh, I made this cube game," and I realized, "Oh my God, you made a persistent world!" In a way, it's obviously not. It's not.
Yeah, it's not like an MMO or anything, right? But it's kind of the start. Like, so I just wanted to play around with it, and the point of it was kind of, we wanted to show it on stream to kind of get you guys thinking about, all the different use cases and start like thinking about what you want to experiment once like Leaderboards comes, because I don't know, I think we're going to see some really cool stuff.
Yeah, another thing to think about is if, for instance, you have a sprawling hour-long RPG that you've made in Project Spark. Then you have this crazy hard boss that's just this side quest type thing. When the boss is beaten, then that adds, say, 1,000 to your high score. Mm-hmm. So then nothing else would add anything to your high score. So then you look for what the high score is in the game, and if someone has a high score greater than 1,000, that means someone's beaten that boss. So what you could do is, in that RPG, if someone else in the community is beating that boss isn't around in your playthrough. So you can kind of start to make a world that persists between playtimes of other people. You can start to make a world that, based on someone killing some enemy in their version of the game, then it kills the enemy in your version of the game as well when you next play it. So, there are a lot of things you can do with looking at high scores and then changing the game once a high score is met. You're just going to have to think about the fact that a high score is a number. So you have to, when you're having a bunch of things happen based on that number, you're going to have to think about certain things will give a certain amount of score, so therefore I can compare that when this score is equal to this, or is more than this or less than this, then this certain thing happens in the world.
I'm an ultimate concentration mode right now.
And, someone brought up a really great idea in chat. You can actually change the name of the boss to the person who has scored the highest in your game.
And that would be, you don't have to do anything. Like, it just happened.
Yeah, exactly. So every time you face the boss, it's the person who's number one on your leaderboards. So that just kind of changes the name of the boss. Nice. Good job.
I got an extra cube in there somewhere because I have the collision thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea with the bosses.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So again, this is more of a simple concept, a simpler idea of showing you how a persistent world might look like. Although simple in quotation marks, because I think the way you generate through indexes is pretty complex for people who are just getting into Project Spark. So don't be intimidated by the way that Thomas is using his math wizardry to create things.
Not at all. Yeah.
Because you one day can too do what Thomas is doing here.
Yep.
So
anything else we wanted to cover?
Well, I think I think the thing I'm even still iffy on, even knowing how you built this, is understanding like how you're looking for the height of each row, how you actually are setting the height of each row.
So do you mean like how it pulls that from the leaderboard, or do you mean like how it's generating, or like
how you're actually just first setting it for each row? Like how does row 1 know that it's a height of 5? How does row 2 know it's a height of 4?
Oh, so when you go in, so this row right off the bat at the beginning, it'll like set, so each cube understands what height it's at. So each cube has its own like set of 3 variables. So cube height equals when I come in and generate it at that global active height. So that's going to be whatever that first row is. So if my active height based off the leaderboard is 3, then the cube height row is going to be 3 right off the bat. And what it'll do, and then for the next one, it'll like understand that. Don't do that. So let's see here. This is generating height. So that's perfect. So the height here is going to be the current index as I'm going through the for each loop, which we talked about already. That current index plus the active height that I'm on. So if I'm on, so this didn't necessarily work because I remember when we just came from the leaderboard, it was like acting kind of funny. So I probably have to touch this up. But so global active, like if I come in and this is 3, then the next one would be 4 and then 5. And then that's how it understands what height it's at. Now, as far as there's just like the object, there's like that global active height, and that changes based on the amount of cubes in the row. And all I'm doing there is, it's in this brain. So when my active height equals 1, and when my global, there's an object set too. So for each object set, height 1, count equals 0, and then that's when it'll switch. So when there's no more cubes in that height in that object set, it'll increment the global active height. So when I clear layer 3 in my cube, for instance, it'll understand like active height becomes 4 now. And that's how it goes. And I'm using an object set there of it understanding, of it basically understanding how many cubes are in the layer. Let me see if I can see where that object set, which when I put the object set.
I was just thinking more about like the different kind of persistent worlds you can create with using this leaderboard score of bringing in high scores. The cool thing is I'm a big Monster Hunter fan. I don't know if you've ever dabbled in Monster Hunter.
I haven't.
It's the idea is you're taking on these epic monsters. So you could make this persistent world where, like, when someone takes down an epic monster, at that point they post a score equal to a certain amount, and then so you end up getting with these leaderboards of like someone has taken down X monster, and like it's just equal to a score, and that monster's taken out of everyone else's world. So you can look at like wins, like the first monster is like, say, has a score of 1,000. So when someone takes that down, they post a score of 1,000. So everyone sees on the leaderboards like, oh man, that person took down the dragon. And then you have a second person who, say there's a mystical phoenix, and the second person takes down the mystical phoenix and gets 2,000 points, and that gets taken out of everyone's world, and they see in the leaderboards, that person took down the phoenix, and so on and so forth. So you can actually kind of create the swag of...
It's like a first come, like it's a race to like kill or whatever.
Yeah, to kill the most epic of beasts.
Yeah, that's so cool. I found the part in the brain here. So on all this does is it finds, so it goes for each through every single cube, which is added to this giant global set, and then it goes based on each of their height values. So when its height is equal to 1, it gets added to that object set. So it knows that like my height, all those cubes are going to be in that single object set. And so when that count reaches 0, that's when it increments up.
I see. Okay, cool. So you're adding those to those certain height object sets.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so a few questions to get to in chat. Keep on asking questions about leaderboards. This will be our last tutorial stream before leaderboards comes out. So this is the point where you ask the questions so that day one you understand how to do everything with leaderboards. Okay, so can you clear leaderboards on your game? Yes. How it works is if your game is already published.
We can show this right now.
Yeah, we can actually. Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, I'll just go fresh.
Okay.
From like grabbing it from like the feed. Okay, so if I'm in here, and so this world's published, right, and it has this leaderboard, so, like, you know, right, like, let's say I don't like now that everybody who plays this only sees the layer 5. So I can go in, you know, into edit, and because I'm the owner of the game, I can, you know, I obviously own this game and this leaderboard. So when I go to hit save and share, it'll ask me if I want to update it. That's the first prompt. This one you've all seen before about you know, keeping the rating and everything like that. So we'll hit update, and then this is the new screen that you're going to get about resetting your leaderboard. So you're about to share a new version of this game. This game has a currently active leaderboard. Do you want to reset this leaderboard or preserve the current leaderboard data? And if I hit reset, and then you can hide this level so it does not appear in the feeds. This is useful for extra levels, that whole same prompt that you guys are used to. So yes, this answers the question about, yes, a hidden world can have a leaderboard.
Yeah, and you can preserve or reset the leaderboards for a world. There is a case where a leaderboards will have to be reset, and that's when you change scoring. Go to world properties just to show that off.
Yeah, let me show how the reset happens.
Oh yeah, sure. So now bam.
So there you go. It's totally reset. So let me go here real quick and I'll play it. So there's a score on there.
Yeah, and the only time that you won't get that option of either resetting or keeping is if, say, for instance, you had a score-based game and you've decided to change it to a time-based game. Those are two different forms of scoring, so therefore leaderboards are totally different. So it's going to prompt you saying, hey, this is going to reset your leaderboards because you've changed your score.
Yep, so now if I come in here, so you saw I put a score of 3 on the leaderboard. Now if I go to world properties, this is going to be under leaderboard.
So you could just do low score, for instance.
If I go low score, if better, yep.
And now he's totally changed how scoring is displayed. So therefore, leaderboards are going to have to be refreshed because it's a totally different type of leaderboards now. So hit that, update world, and then it's going to tell you, hey, it has different leaderboard type. It's going to reset leaderboards. You can do that, or you can cancel and change out your leaderboards again.
Yep. 3's pretty low, so I want to do that. So when somebody beats me, they're going to be below me.
Yeah. Can hidden worlds have leaderboards? Yes, they can. If a world is published, whether it's hidden or visible, it can have leaderboards. So you can use, if you're doing level linking between worlds, what you want to do is just have a campaign tile and use a campaign variable. Campaign variables go from one world to the next. That's what you get when you have massive world builder. And then you can carry over a score from one world to the next world. And so that's kind of the score that's posting in the leaderboards of all the hidden levels and the non-hidden levels.
Yep. And if you don't know, so you can see, so we'll just take a look at this real quick. So the name that you put in your world properties, that gets displayed right here. So I named it like cubes destroyed. So you can see that there. How you're ranking it, like, so if it's fastest time, shortest time, high score, low score, that's going to appear right there if you don't know. And then you can also toggle between viewing your world or your friends.
Yeah, I don't have any friends though. So.
Yep, yeah.
Or also no one's posted on this yet.
Yep. Well, I just reset it, so there's
no
way. Yeah. Yep.
So I think that'll do it for us. I mean, we really are excited about leaderboards. It's besides just putting leaderboards in your games, which is going to be so fun. We've already been having so much fun internally just with adding leaderboards to our games. It really increases the competitive nature of playing games.
The stickiness, like it's just when you add that competitive or collaborative element, I guess.
It's I can't wait. It's something that I'm really happy we're finally getting to. Something I've been waiting for a while. But besides that, there's a lot more you can do with leaderboards because you can read scores in your game. We showed you how to make persistent worlds. There's so much more you can do with that. We just scratched the surface of what you can really do with all these new features that are included within the pack. Last question we got was boxers or briefs? Boxer briefs.
Yeah, there you go. The happy middle.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that'll do it for us. Ask your questions away in the forums, wherever else. Leaderboards pack is slated to come out this Thursday, just 2 days away. Later on today, we will be posting a blog post which will have the score, or not the score, the price. God, I'm thinking leaderboards already. It'll have the price, it'll have all the content breakdown, it'll have everything, answer hopefully all of your questions. And if it doesn't answer all your questions, then ask us other questions. And therefore, I think that'll do it. Yeah, so we're so excited for when we release this, and we're excited to talk about this, talk about what's coming after this. Oh man, we have a great summer lineup for you guys. So we will go ahead and end it there before Thomas beats his level again. He's getting too good at this.
I just need to make it harder, or just add more cubes. That's what makes it really hard.
Yep, and again, price will be announced when the blog post comes out, which should be really within a couple hours.
Yep, it should be really soon.
Yep. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Again, ask questions away. Hopefully last week's tutorial, this week's tutorial, give you enough info to prep you for making your own leaderboards game. So day one, you get in, you can make that stuff.
You guys know as much as we do.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes.
And boom.
Thank you all. We'll be back again on Thursday showing off... well, I guess showing off now leaderboards released. We're just going to be having some fun with that.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun. All right. Take care, guys.
Create your game as you play? Any Spark can do it. Spark, activate the portals.